2014 Veterans in Politics candidate interview. We're going to proceed now with the perhaps loneliest candidate that we'll encounter today. And that is State Senator Barbara Cegavske, who is running for Nevada Secretary of State. The rules of engagement here. Our strict schedule will be adhered to without exception. This is an interview and not a debate, so when your question panelist is answered, you don't get to ask a follow-up question. Candidates are allowed a 1.5-minute introduction at the beginning. Panelists have 30 seconds to pose their question, and then candidates have 1 minute to respond. This is not a forum, so no personal grievances will be aired. If time allows, at the end, we'll have additional questions from either the panelists or members of the public. If a question is deemed too complex, that it requires a lengthy answer, then we will disqualify that question. And panelists need to pose their questions just to one candidate, because we only have one candidate. All right, so no posing questions to all candidates here. We are going to commence with a 1.5-minute introductory statement from Barbara Cegavske.
Good afternoon, and thank you for having me here today. Yes, my name is Barbara Cegavske, and I'm a state senator, and this is my 18th year of public service, and I am running for Secretary of State. The qualifications of Secretary of State, I believe, are somebody that has a business background. My husband and I owned a small business for 13 years. I came from a background, my family was involved in small businesses, so I know what it means to sign the front of a paycheck. I also am someone who has served 18 years, as I said, in the legislature, and I also was the committee chair for legislative operations and elections, which oversaw the Secretary of State's office and all of the legislation that came from that. I also have been a resident of Nevada for 40 years. I love Nevada. Nevada's home. My husband and I have been married for 34 years. We have 2 grown sons, and I have 5 grandkids, which I'm very excited to let everybody know that. Very proud of them. We have a 5-year-old, a 3, a 1, and a set of twin girls that are 4 months old. So you know that we're kept busy. Our children each went to public schools here in Las Vegas. I was very involved in the community. I helped with PTA, you name it, all the way up until they graduated. And if anybody remembers Joe Crawley from UNR, he told me that I couldn't start a PTA and that they didn't need any room parents in the dorms up at the campus. So I got into public service, and that's when I started in 1997 to make sure that what I believed were beneficial tax restraints were conducted in the legislature. I have the privilege of serving 3 terms in the Assembly and 3 terms in the Senate. And again, this is my 18th year. I am very excited about this legislative process, and I am also very excited about running for Secretary of State.
Okay, our first panelist question will be posed by Tom Blanchard, a Navy veteran and president of Veterans Real Estate.
Hello, Barbara. How are you?
I'm good, Tom. Thank you. My dad served in the Navy, so I am partial to the Navy.
Thank you. Can you tell us what you plan to do upon getting to voted elected Secretary of State? What your main 3 goals are going to be once you're in there?
Sure. Thank you for that question. Obviously, the first one is just to make sure that the things that Dean Heller started with years ago and Ross Miller has been proceeding with are continued. Technology changes on a regular basis, so we have to make sure that we stay current. The business portal is an example. That is something right now that people are very fond of, going to one place, a one-stop shop, to be able to get all your licensing and fees accomplished by one push of a button. That's very, very important. I also believe the integrity of elections is one of the number one issues here in the state of Nevada and the country. So that is one of the things that will make sure that we continue the integrity in elections. And I also want to make sure that we have high school students that are involved and understand why it is so important to vote. As you know, last session I was able to get a bill passed for civics education that is mandated that it is part of the curriculum, so I'm very happy about that. We need to bring that back.
Okay. Our next question will be posed by Mike Angel, founder of Nevada Legal Forms and Tax Services.
This is in relation to the state business license of the current knowledge that the current Secretary of State, he reverted the will of the legislature of 2007 that it would be a home-based exemption. He negated that and it gave us businesses a huge tax increase and going back to a 2001 law. What's your philosophy, how would you deal with that? Would you follow the 2007 legislation or current based on what he's saying is 2001?
I actually believe that we have to be careful what we do to businesses in the state of Nevada. If we overtax and overburden, we see what we've seen over the last several years, that businesses do not flourish and they go out of business. I want to make sure that we are a friendly environment. I want to make sure that we are competitive with other states, and that is very, very important to me. And I do believe the home-based businesses were affected differently, and I do think that they do things differently than the brick and mortar that we have in the shopping malls or your own standalone business. So we have to look at that. We have to make sure that the laws are all passed, but if we need to change something to make it more affordable, we need to do that.
Our next question will be posed by Amber Bannon. She's a paralegal, parent, and military spouse.
Barbara, I know that there was a huge part of the mortgage scandal here in the state of Nevada was due to notaries not doing their job correctly or legally. What would you propose, because I'm a notary in my line of work, so what would you propose as changes to prevent another scandal where the notaries are a big part of that scandal?
Thank you for that question, Amber. I too was a notary years ago, so I know what you are supposed to do. And unfortunately, we have laws on the books. We need to enforce the laws. We need to make sure that everybody understands that that is a privilege, and that if you go against it, there will be charges brought against you, that you cannot let somebody else use your notary, all the things that we've heard about. But we need to make sure that everything that a notary does is documented and then verified. We need to make sure of the verification. But I think that even with stricter laws, what happened would have happened because of who the people were, the individuals. So we can put laws on the books for all the good people, and the bad people are still going to do things that are right.
Our next question will be posed by Melissa Broadway, a political consultant and parent.
Hello, good afternoon. My question is, as if elected, part of your position would be to serve on the State Board of Prison Commissioners, and I wondered if you could tell me a little bit about your opinions on the status of our prison system currently and something specifically that you could do or would want to do to help positively rectify it.
Melissa, thank you so much for that question. I've been working with the prison industry since I was in 1997. I toured every prison there is in the state, and I worked with every director that we've had in the state of Nevada. I understand the issues and understand some of the problems that we have and some of the things that we need to do better. The juvenile programs, I've seen all the camps, and I believe that we're trying to do the right thing with them if we get them put in the right places. One of the other groups that I'm working with, and I'm working with the prison industry, is Hope for Prisoners. And these are felons who come out of prison and they need a job. And we work with the community and we work with Dieter, trying to make sure that they get job training. And this is before they come out, because we don't want them to go back in. We don't want that revolving door. So we have got to make sure that we do something. Most of the people that come out don't have a high school diploma, didn't finish school, they need some education.
Our next question will be asked by Jay Giraldi, who's a Marine veteran.
Could you please define or describe for me the role of the Nevada Secretary of State and what it means to you.
Thank you for that question, Jay. When I came in, I didn't get to meet all of you, but I put a card in front of you. And one of the biggest questions that I got asked when I first started to run was, would you please put something out that describes what the Secretary of State does, because I don't know what it is. So on one side, there's information about me, and on the other side, it's about the Secretary of State. Five of the main is the Commercial Reporting Division. And of course, elections, everybody knows Secretary of State, that's what you're the most known for, is the Elections Division. There's the Notary Division, which we already have talked about. There's Operations Division, and then there's the Securities. One of the things I'm very excited about is being able to be on the Economic Development Forum as a voting member. I have spent my entire career looking and trying to figure out how we can encourage businesses to come here and how we can make businesses flourish.
Next question will be posed by Rowena Criffington, founder for the Cheyenne Family Foundation.
Hi, Barbara.
Hi.
My question to you is, should the government provide money to private businesses? Yes or no?
You just want a yes or no answer?
Or explain.
Okay. I think there's been a lot of talk lately about our government giving special preference. I think that each individual company that comes in, there needs to be a give and take. There needs to be something that will benefit Nevada, and there needs to be, if they're getting help, how in the future are they going to be able to pay that back? If we're giving tax incentives, when do we start getting that back into the system so that the cities and the counties and the state can be a part of that profit? So there's a give and take of both of them, but I think we have to do our due diligence and be very careful, especially with our economic situation now that we've been in. We can't keep looking at budgeting and doing it by piecemeal. You know, selecting an individual industry to pay taxes, that doesn't work.
Thank you for your response. Our next question will be posed by holistic Dr. Danielle Duperret.
There are a lot of good things and improvement on the website. However, I don't find it very user-friendly, and there are a lot of restrictions. For example, you can only use Explorer and only certain versions of Explorer. Are you going to work on making it user-friendly?
Absolutely, and thank you for that question. I think that, again, the technology keeps improving every single day. We know that. We know that every time you get a new computer or you get a new phone, there's another one being developed down the road, and you need to keep upgrading. And that's what we need to do with Secretaries of State. We need to find good people that know technology and can keep it updated and keep it going. That's very, very important. So thank you for that question.
Our next question will be posed by Michael Mazur, an attorney here in Las Vegas.
Good afternoon.
Hi, Michael.
Can you share your views and opinions on voter identification?
I believe that you should have to show your picture ID when you vote. I do it every time I go because I think it's very important, and I don't know anybody that doesn't have a card. If they're getting any public service whatsoever, if they're getting any state services, you have to have some type of an identification. And so I do believe that I don't think that it's a burden. I think that it's something that we need to make sure that we provide so that we can make sure the integrity of elections, again, is upheld.
Next panelist is Dr. Jasmine Brooks, a medical doctor and attorney here in Las Vegas.
My question is on the notary program. How do you regulate it, and if a notary receives a felony after getting appointed, how do you regulate that, and how do you enforce that?
Well, again, we have current laws that you have certain guidelines that you have to follow as a notary. And if you fail to do that, we have to enforce the laws that are on the books. We have to do that. And so you have to, when you find out there has been a violation, it has to be turned into the authorities.
What kind of
Well-
follow-up do you do after they're receiving a?
There's audits. Audits are done, and that, again, is what you would have to do, is when you're going through audits, you would see any discrepancies. And in the case of the mortgage that we had found out, the mortgage case, that was to investigation. Because there was another issue, and then they found out about the other. So and again, it's through auditing.
Brian Bouchant is going to pose our next question. He is an Army vet and president of Fallen Not Forgotten.
How you doing? Thank you very much for coming.
Thank you, Brian.
Please give me your opinion on unemployment lasting 2 years.
I believe that people that have put their money into unemployment, and they've lost their jobs, I believe that they need to be able to get that back, and because they put into it. But I have a hard time with people who haven't put into anything if they would be receiving additional. So you should be getting back what you put in.
And our final, maybe final, panelist question is John Shute Jr., who is a Metro Police officer when he's not asking questions on this panel.
How you doing? Something near and dear to me. My degrees are in government and political science, and very concerned about the situation here in Nevada. We're 42nd out of all the states for electoral transparency. Every election seems like something comes up, and as a police officer, I was working the night of the 2010 U.S. Senate election when mysteriously boxes appeared. We had to go transport them for the Reed Engel U.S. Senate race. And it's really just casted a shadow on me in this state as far as where we're really at when it comes to our elections. How would you fix that? How would you make Nevada raise above 42 in the rest of the state?
Well, again, and thank you for the question, John. Again, this goes back to the people that you have in charge, the people that you have that are in control of that certain precinct. It's training. The people that you have in charge of the 17 counties, you have border registrars or you have clerks. You have to make sure that the people that you entrust those ballots to are people that you scrutinize, that are there. And I think we do have some really good people in our clerks and our voter registrar, where I think the issue is we have trained volunteers who sometimes don't go through all the training they need and then sometimes make poor decisions. So it's incumbent upon the Secretary of State to make sure everybody is certified, some type of a certification to know that if there is a mistake or if there is something, they know what to do right away. And that's where I've seen everything that I've heard from any discrepancies has been the fact that they didn't know what to do, they didn't know who to contact. And so I think we need to make sure that we have that lifeline, not only for them, but we teach them.
Karen? Questions? Okay. I guess I'll go back through. If any panelist has an additional question, feel free to ask it.
Barbara, let's go back to the last election with the Andrew Martin and Kelly Hurst situation. Can you explain to us and what happened and how the Secretary of State could have or should have or didn't? What would have you done had you been in that position?
Well, actually, thank you, Tom. That's up to the Assembly Speaker and who's ever in control. And the Democrats were in control of the House, and that was their decision of what to do. What we can do, what I think should have been done was before he was seated, that something should have happened when the judge ruled. That's when something should have taken place.
You're not elected yet, so you probably don't know all the issues of the Secretary of State website half the time yet. A lot of times with the new implementation of the website interface, approximately about a year ago, there's a lot of downtime, a lot of outages of it. I don't know if you know that.
The downtime?
Yeah. Maybe on the last day of the month for corporate renewals, they go down for about 6 to 8 hours, which is very difficult when you're trying to help customers.
Right, and I understand, and I know that from being a legislator, that LCB, the Legislative Council Bureau, they have downtime of many hours because they have to go in and they have to make updates, and then they have to take what they've got and place it wherever it needs to go, so to speak. But that's part of it. You have to have some downtime to revamp, and that is part of the procedure. But I do understand, because I know the other issue that I have is the wait time on the phone. There's an awful lot of wait time on the phone, which I would like to take care of that as well. But I understand what you're talking about and know that that's been an issue. Thank you.
Who's next?
Sorry. At what point do you believe preventing the prison issue that we have here in Nevada begins?
Preventing what?
The overpopulation of people in prison.
Well, again, we've set the rules of what the judges and the courts have to adhere to. We've made the laws, and so we need to make sure that we have people coming out that have some education, because most of them coming out did not. They left middle school or the beginning of high school when most of the prisoners left. They don't have the education and skills. So we need to make sure we take care of that. We give them the skills so that they don't go back in, and that we can find businesses that are willing to hire them. For example, Bill Water is one that belongs to the businesses that belongs to the Vote for Prisoners, and they help them, and they have some of their clients that they educated on what they do, what they need to do at the job, and some have been there for several years. So if we can get people to understand that yes, you did prison, you did time, but you still have a value to society and you want to be a productive citizen, that's what we need to do. And because that's one of our biggest problems, is that they just keep the cycle, they just keep going in and out. And that's a big issue, but I do believe a lot of it boils down to education. And not everybody needs to go to college. We need to make sure that we have trades, and that's what's, I think is also hurting, is because people feel, a lot of kids I talk to feel they're a failure if they don't go to school. But if they learn a trade, they've got skills that they need. So I think that's really important.
Hi, Barbara, thank you for coming. You seem like a very nice, likable person, definitely. Are you a career politician?
I do not consider myself a career politician. We are a citizens legislature. We're not in all the time. We're only in every other year for 120 days. I do work outside of that. I love what I do. I'm able to help citizens and constituents within my district, but all over the whole state. So no, I don't feel like a career politician. I really am honored and humbled to be a public servant.
Yes, having a system administration background, I'm fully aware that the electronic voting machines can be manipulated. There's been system administrators that have testified before Congress that they can be manipulated if someone has administrative rights within the database. With that said, with that information given you, would you consider and also look to push another form of validation to validate what a voter has voted for? Like, for example, a relational database in the form of a web-based where they can log in, also look at where they voted and print it out from there as well, or they put in an email address when they vote and get an email copy of what they voted for.
Thank you for that question, Jay. That is into the future, which I think is so important. Again, it's like technology. As things change, we all know that the Sequoia machines are old, and we know that most of that money to repair them and anything to do with the Sequoia machines has already been spent. So we have to have a different system. We have to look at everything that's available out there, and I think that should be included in everything that we look at. But there will be a day that we can't have those machines anymore because we don't have anybody to take care of them. They don't have the parts. It's too expensive. The list goes on. So we will be evolving and changing into something else again.
Lena, you have a question?
Barbara, I'm a grandmother myself, so I applaud you.
Congratulations.
Thank you. I applaud you for being a woman and a grandmother and for your willingness to improve our state. My question to you is, how would you improve, or what do you see as the biggest problem facing our state, and how would you improve or help, what are the policies you would help to implement to better the future of our grandchildren?
Thank you very much for that question. This all goes to the economy and jobs. If we do not have a stable economy and we don't have jobs, people aren't going to stay here. They're going to go where they can find a job. We already know that. We've lost businesses and we've lost people. The margins tax is a perfect example. I'm opposed to that. I signed on to the chamber the first day that they had it available to sign on to be opposed to it. And that is going to hurt. And we've got businesses waiting to see if that passes or not before they do business here, before they decide whether or not they're going to come. We have got to stop the threat of taxing businesses every session, because that does keep us at bay from other businesses. Every time we go into session, they are wondering which tax is going to come out. Who are we going to pick on? What are we going to do? And we've got to stop that. That is not what we need to do. And so again, I'll tell you that I believe the Secretary of State is supposed to look out for businesses. We want to make sure that when we look at the other states, we are competitive. That's very, very important. Competitive in our license fees and our fees. Everything that we do has to be competitive, not only with the Western states, but as a nation. And if we do that, we will help get us out of where we are right now. But we've got to make sure that we concentrate on small businesses, and the middle income workers are the ones that are the bread and butter of this nation and this state.
Dr. Dupre, you have a question?
Yes, you seem to enjoy being a public servant. After Secretary of State, what's next?
I bite off one bite of the apple at a time. But thank you, I really appreciate that.
Michael Manager, do you have another question?
I do. What do you see the impact of question 3 on new business filings and registrations within the state, as far as the new taxation of businesses?
Well, again, I see it as a burden to the businesses, and we need to look at how we can be competitive. When I look at New Mexico, you can open up an LLC for $100, and here it's $400. To me, that's not competitive, and that's what we need to do. We need to make sure that we look at all the other states and judge from that.
Dr. Brooks?
The Ninth Circuit Court of Appeals from our presidential election had ruled that you can use your front bench as an address for your voter's registration. What is your position on that?
I do believe that those who find themselves out of work and are homeless, we have shelters where I know that women are registered until they can get on their feet again and get a home. I do believe that those are extenuating circumstances, and I do think that we should allow that, but they have to be verified and checked. That's the part of the clerks and the voter register that they understand and know who comes in. Now, you have so much time that you can live in a shelter. There's only so much time that you have. So then after you've had that time expire, we need to verify to see where you moved on and what your address change is.
Looks like we're passing over Mr. Bichon with the question and moving directly to Officer Shute.
What is your opinion on announcing election results and verifying results when overseas military ballots have not been counted?
I think we need to make sure that all the military votes are in. We need to make sure that they have ample time. And I do believe that there are several entities now throughout the United States that are looking at how they can do it faster and quicker. So I do believe that each election we will be getting those results a lot faster because of technology. So I'm hoping that won't be an issue.
It appears that Ms. Dillon has not got a question, but we have a couple of members of the audience who do. Please state your name and your brief question.
Hello, my name is Tom Jones. I'm with the Independent American Party.
Hi, Tom.
Hi. And I wanted to ask you, I'm very concerned about voter fraud. I was down at that special election we had, and I thought that the pouches with the disc in for the voting were supposed to be locked, but they weren't. They just opened them up, took the disc out, and then there was an instance where they couldn't even find the pouch. They had to search through the whole building because it had been put in the wrong box and ended up in the wrong place. It seems to me that we should have we probably have the procedures in place, but it seems to me that that should be something that is of the utmost concern. Would you do anything to make the voting process more secure?
Absolutely. Thank you, Tom, for that question. I appreciate it. Again, this goes into training. I really believe that when you have volunteers, we love to have volunteers, and I think that's great, but we've got to make sure that whoever's over the election procedure has been trained and knows if there is a mistake, if there is an error, the security of everything has to be under their watch, and they're held responsible for anything that doesn't go right. So they have to, but again, I really believe the training, and from talking to the clerks, that's what they tell me as well. And in talking to people who help register people to vote, that's another issue as well. But the training has got to be appropriate, and it has to put somebody that if something goes wrong, and somebody knows the procedure to get out of it, or to get back into it, but they need to be held accountable. That's what we need to do. All 17 counties have somebody that's over the jurisdiction of all the precincts, and that's where the buck stops.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Hello, Senator Cegavske.
Hi.
Eddie Hamilton, question about voter fraud or irregularity. In your opinion, how widespread is voter fraud or voting process irregularity in Nevada? And also, the Secretary of State office is in charge of the civil union. And what is your position of marriage? Is that only between a man and a woman?
Thank you. I do believe that marriage is between a man and a woman. And then on the voter fraud, I do believe that we have people out in this country, as we've seen before, that make bad decisions. And they do things that they shouldn't do. We just had an article, I think it was an editorial that talked about a young lady who was an illegal immigrant. She voted twice in Nevada, and they found her through another means as to how she had voted through some other things that she had done. That was quite an eye-opening editorial that the RJ did. We know that there is fraud and that it does happen. Now, how widespread it is, it's only until you uncover something. And the thing that is, I think, upsetting to the voters is that there's nothing you can do about once the vote has been cast and that whoever won or lost, and then you find out about voter fraud after the fact, there's nothing you can do about the count. Again, and so that, I think, is a very big concern. So if going in before you certify anything, you think that there is an issue or there is a problem that's brought to you, before you certify that, you should make sure that every rock's been turned over, every I's been dotted and T's been crossed. So that's what we need to do. And again, it has so much to do with the training of the people that are in the field. Thank you, Eddie.
All right, that brings us to a close. Oh, we have one more person who would like to ask a question.
Hi.
Hi.
There's a button that's, you know, the kids that
There we go.
Yvonne, I live in Henderson.
Hi, Yvonne.
What I'd like to know is how you, as Secretary of State, can shrink the size of government and make it more efficient.
Well, everything that has to do with government needs to be closest to the people. Anything, it doesn't matter what it is, it needs to be closest to the people, so the people are making decisions about governing themselves. So I I believe in states' rights, and I think that the local entities are where you want to make sure that you have the most power.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay, that ends our questions for our candidate for Secretary of State. And we will start back up in about 10 minutes with State Assembly District 42.
Thank you.